It's California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are joined by Robert Lovingood. He is a supervisor in San Bernardino County. Are you loving your new job?
Oh, absolutely.
It's been about a year and a half.
I got to share with you, Brad. It's just been one of those. It's being a novice, not having the experience, coming back in as an independent business person.
Right.
The idea that you always have to have two votes. You've got to approach things in a much more open, fluid means, and you have to look for common ground. But I got to share with you, it's probably been the most enjoyable, and at times some of the most frustration.
Fair enough. Yeah. What's got to be, I don't know if the word's frustrating, but challenging for you is your particular district is massive geographically. Right. San Bernardino County is the largest geographic district in the entire country, but you specifically cover a lot of land.
Oh, we do. We have 15,000 square miles.
Right.
But, even when I ran, the reality of those 15,000 square miles are not populated.
True, but still, to get to constituents, don't you go all the way to the Arizona border, the Nevada border?
I think as the previous supervisors have stated, 40,000 miles on my truck, and when you're going to a meeting in Needles, it's 2.5 hours each way.
I can imagine. Let's talk about a meeting that was recently held. It was dealing with the San Gabriel Mountains.
Yes.
Now, if you said to me that a supervisor in San Bernardino County would be involved in a meeting with regard to the San Gabriel Mountains, I would think that doesn't make sense. But why don't you define for us why you and Supervisor Janice Rutherford from San Bernardino needed to be involved in this meeting regarding the San Gabriel Mountains?
Well, absolutely. There's a push and a sudden push for a national monument.
Right. But back up. I guess the mountains.
Right. Well, they go both sides. There's the south side and the north side. The north side and the eastern end impact San Bernardino County. And in our particular case, Wrightwood, a city of 5,000, that's very unique, and there's an overlap to these boundaries.
Right.
And the same with Rancho Cucamonga. Even though we're a very small part, we were not a large part of the conversation of an effort that's gone on for 10 years with the San Gabriel residents. So I can't fault them for their desire, but it's kind of like getting invited to the party a little late. And we're just looking at and really need to be able to vet through.
And so let's talk about the background for our viewers. I have the honor of interviewing members of Congress from the entire state, and often I interview Congresswoman Judy Chu, who represents, I don't think she has any part of San Bernardino County, maybe a small part. I'm not sure, I guess on the east end. But be that as it may, like you said, she has been pushing, as her predecessor, Hilda Solis, for a designation of the San Gabriel Mountains, not as a national monument, that's later in the discussion, but as a national recreation area.
Correct.
So what's with the national monument? What can you tell us?
I think actually our understanding, again, this was something that just came on suddenly.
Right.
And there was a signal, I'm going to say, from the current administration, the Obama administration, that look, we can use the executive order and the Antiquity Act, and we can go ahead and designate this. Our questions, one of the things that I think was the most operative thing we heard in the meeting Tuesday night was the word "this could." And I caution anytime we hear this could result in more funding, this could result in more improvement. I like the National Recreation Area, and again, we were just kind of brought from a groundswell. We want the opportunity to vet, because we understand today, with the economics that we're under, nationally and even in the state, could's a very big word.
But it's interesting you mention this, because like you said, this process has been going on for 10 years through the Congress.
Correct.
10 years is a long time, and the process has been pushed by two Democratic members of the Congress in an era where Republicans control the Congress. And so they were facing certain challenges to get this bill out. It looked like they were getting some momentum, but then, like you said, this possibility of an executive order coming down whereby the president has the legal authority. This isn't one of those where it's in question. He can designate it as a national monument, and that could happen not in 10 years, but in 10 minutes.
In 10 weeks.
In 10 weeks, it would be even better.
Well, and I can say that. So in our meetings, what we've been assured is that we'll have the opportunity to look and discuss at the federal level the boundaries impacting San Bernardino County. And I think if it's fluid, and if we can address our concerns, as again, this has certainly been an effort that I think that the communities of San Gabriel are encouraged for and want and support. I think San Bernardino We have some separate challenges that we have to address for our constituents, and if we can get those to the table, we can come out with a situation I think that'll work.
What are they? Tell us. What
Well,
are
we
the
have
concerns?
to still understand what's going to be the difference of impact to property owners,
Right.
folks that have leases on the federal lands, what's going to happen from the economic standpoint,
and your
what
point-
improvements are we going to actually see.
And your point is well taken. When you think about the San Gabriel Mountains, the vast majority of the area more in the LA County side uninhabited. But you have pockets, like you said, where there are communities, albeit small, but there still are people who live in the zone.
That's right.
And so I can understand why these people would be a little bit concerned.
And I think we can all learn from this. At the very least, those communities will have delays that we have to understand in expansion and just development.
Impacts growth.
It impacts, certainly.
So where do we land today? Because obviously this has been driven by Congresswoman Judy Chu. Your areas, I presume, are represented federally by Paul Cook, our good friend Paul Cook.
Yes,
And
Congressman
so
Cook.
where is Congressman Cook in this conversation?
I
at
think
this
we're at the
stage?
very same place. We have to move very cautiously, but at the same time, I think if we can address the concerns of our constituents, and I can't speak for Janice, but I certainly know
Right.
that Rancho Cucamonga has similar concerns, but see some benefits. If we address those, then it's something that we can move forward.
Like you said, though, this could take, I said 10 minutes, you wisely said 10 weeks.
Right.
That's quick.
Well, I can share with you two
Yeah.
conference calls
Please.
yesterday.
Ah.
We're looking at the opportunity going back in less than 5 days, potentially, to
go to
DC,
DC. I
to
understand.
kind of really to continue to work the relationship and see how we can address the boundaries. Undersecretary Robert Bonney was very insightful to really saying, or receptive, let's see what we can work before we move.
Because in a lot of ways, I mean, this could be a terrific thing for the entire area. National monument. When I think of national monuments, I think of, South Dakota with.
Certainly. Well, a big
Mount
difference between
Rushmore
that and
and-
a national park. And then when I say that,
Is that a national park in South Dakota? I'm not even sure.
Well,
Help me.
Well, no, I mean, if we go in, or you're talking not the Tetons.
That too.
Yeah, well, the Tetons are a national park, and
Okay.
if we go into
Mount Rushmore?
Mount Rushmore is a national park, and those are very much
Different than a national monument.
monument. Yes,
So,
they are.
I mean,
and when I say that, so if we're going to blur, when I say that,
but
if
that's
we look at the
but your
preserve,
Points well taken.
yeah, so we just got to really understand what the impacts are going to be. I mean, at the end, and that's going to require some time. If we address, again, and I go back to be redundant, but if we address the concerns of our constituents and we know that it's not going to have a negative impact, because obviously, in my opinion, the folks in the San Gabriel Valley have long desired this.
Right.
So it's two things. We have to listen to both sides. We just kind of got invited to the dance a little late.
Sure.
And we want to protect our constituents.
Could it be that the San Bernardino area needs to be carved out completely?
There could be components. That could be an end result, but we're not going to know until we further our conversations.
Were your constituents informed with enough lead time so they were able to attend the meeting that was recently
It was short, but one of the things I like to point out, which was interesting, I'm going to estimate there were 600 people. There were a third of them that came from the mountains on a very short notice.
Oh, wow.
And Rancho.
And what did
they
they
were very vocal. They were saying, hold on, let's stop. We're not aware of this. So we need to be a part of this conversation. And I think everyone in the room walked away with a commitment that we're going to have outreach. We're looking to have a meeting in Rancho Cucamonga, also a community meeting in Wrightwood. We're going to do those on a very short time frame. And we feel that'll give the opportunity to understand. So I'm not going to voice opposition until we really have the opportunity to listen to our constituents.
So when do we expect that there will be some plan that's more firm? Are we talking the fall? Are we talking 2015? Do you have a sense?
My sense,
Or is it 10
realistically-
minutes or 10 weeks?
No, well, I think within the next 2.5 months. I could say before the end of the year.
So it could.
Could,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to be the
Fair enough.
absolute, but I think it's something, one, we've made a very high priority.
Right.
So has Supervisor Rutherford,
Sure.
Janice has, and we're going to pay attention to it.
He is Robert Lovingood. He is a supervisor in San Bernardino County. My name is Brad Pomerance, and this is California Edition.